The Minister of Cooperative Governance is Thembi Nkadimeng, who joins us now from Ladysmith. Minister, good morning to you, and thank you for agreeing to take this interview. My understanding is that you may have had the opportunity to look around as you touched down in KZN. What have you found?
Well, thank you very much. I touched down in KZN yesterday. I visited eThekwini, which you also know experienced floods in the areas of Tongaat, in fact the entire south coast, with its boundary municipality, KwaZulu-Natal. And we are estimating a damage in that site of around 2.2 billion. This is around eThekwini. It excludes the costs for KwaZulu-Natal, which will still be visited at the beginning of the week because they're still anticipating rains continuously over the weekend. So we do believe we need to give them a bit of some time for things to subside. But all our search and rescue teams, Department of Social Development, Education, Police, we may be bringing in the request of defense if the situation necessitates. But currently we are surviving with a chopper from SAPS, from our search and rescue team. Department of Health, they are also on site to assist us in the KwaZulu-Natal area, and the cost will be finalized possibly around Monday or Tuesday when the situation subsides. And today in the Uthugela district municipality, as you have said, it's a municipality which also takes care of Ilembe, which is also a district, a combination of Okahlamba, a combination of Nambiti, Ladysmith and all that. They've been ravaged by floods, actually starting from the 23rd of December non-stop. Till this week they are on a warning level of about 50%. Level 5, and we've seen the 50% of that level 5 right up to yesterday. It's very, very cloudy. Even now it can pour at any minute. We're also hovering at around 2.4, 2.5 billion in terms of estimate. Currently all the mayors are in house, and we have been taken through into the dam that connects from the site of Amajuba and pours down into the site of Mnambiti. A study was done by the municipality which actually does indicate that the placement generally of Amajuba, which was rather Mnambiti, Ladysmith, which was built and started in the early 1650 towards the progression of life, may need to be relocated, but that's a decision that will still be dealt with later. For now, we are focusing into ensuring that we save life, we rescue, we relocate, we rebuild. We have, as we have indicated, seen overall in the province around 59 fatalities. Some includes fatalities which are flood related, of course. I mean, I think there are about 6 struck by lightning. So we also include and count them as part of the inclement weather, which is wet. So it's a touch and go. We've classified all the areas under Uthugela and Ilembe, local municipalities, as being allowed to reprioritize their budget and focus all of it into the flood relief and disaster relief. Yeah. And that means we are now in the process of classification to see as to whether it will be necessary for the President to declare a state of disaster in the portions of KwaZulu-Natal that are heavily hit by the floods.
Just on the very question that you mentioned, Minister, of classification or classifying the areas, and I take it of eThekwini and Uthugela as disaster areas, what qualifies for that to happen, and what does it come with, that classification of an area as a disaster zone? Does it come with money?
Yes, it does, but there is a bit of a distinction between classification and declaring. a disaster. Classify means it's what we can do ourselves. The MEC is here, and under the MEC in the department there's Provincial Disaster Management, which reports to us at national, where we house the National Disaster Management Center. The classifications have already been done, meaning you are given, as an institution of government, a municipality, you are given a budget to run your day-to-day operations. You plan it normally outside the disaster. So we have got the powers, according to the Act, to classify. That now we've classified you that you are in danger, which means if you had planned to buy something that you could use and do without it leisurely, stop doing that, but rather focus on rebuilding roads. Let's say you had budgeted to build a community hall. Not that it's not important, but it is important to rebuild a house than to build a community hall. So the classification under our care, both at the provincial and national level, then allows us to say, municipalities, sit down quickly with your council, reclassify your budget, remove these non-essential issues and focus your essential. Should be the floods, repair the roads quickly, build the bridges quickly, etc., focusing on saving lives because people are in danger. To declare disaster, of course we do top up from a national level in terms of funds as well. In terms of declaring a disaster, then it means almost the entire area, for example, where we are now, of Ilembe, if you walk in the street, I mean the N11 is almost washed away. It's beyond the capacity of the municipality. So what does it mean? It may need Sanral, it's a national road, it may need the national department. Yes, we cooperate with them, we coordinate them, as our name says, cooperative governance, but you need a president to declare a disaster. Declaring it means you must gazette, you must do all those processes, and National Treasury now must look for funds additionally from other areas in the fiscus to focus that. So that process, yes, is delegated to the Minister of COGTA, but is headed by the President in declaring a disaster. So it means you are going to a COVID level. It's the President who could declare that the country is under a disaster or a particular portion of the country. It's not only in KZN. If you look at Port St. John's in the Eastern Cape, it also experienced heavy rain excessively, continuously. They also have got a portion of almost all their infrastructure submerged in water. South Coast, eThekwini, will be facing the same thing. KwaDukuza, as I'm saying, it may not necessarily be the entire province of KwaZulu-Natal that will be declared, but we are seeing pockets and signs of extreme rains in some isolated areas that may need to warrant a president to declare a state of disaster in those areas.
You've explained it very well, Minister. Thank you for that. Let's then deal with the element of finances. Yes, you are the minister directly involved here, but you've mentioned National Treasury. The figures you've already alluded to for eThekwini and Utugela combined, it's about 4.5 billion or so. How quickly can those funds be available, you think?
Well, disaster is prioritized. I mean, for example, the schools, the figures of Ilembe include about 8 or 11 schools in the area. Some are totally damaged. If you will recall, during the school opening, even learners, a notice was issued that they must not go to school. So it means you need promptly to either bring, as an interim measure, classrooms mobile where learners could start learning next week, and the Department of Education is doing that. You need the replacement. Department of Social Development is doing its own replacement and additional packages to ensure that there's food and health and hygiene amenities that is given on a day-to-day and a constant basis. So we're already on the run. As I'm saying, SAPS already has also filed its own in terms of support. They don't stop. They reprioritize because of the classification, because these are specialized skills. Not every police is trained in search and rescue, particularly involving water submerged under the water in rivers and in dams that are overflowing. So it's a specialized skill. They are utilizing their budget, which may then need as part of the disaster to be replaced. But we are not going to say we want search and rescue people because we are waiting for the president or the minister to classify a disaster. There's a way in which government works. But once National Treasury has signed that, it goes with the real-time auditing, which means ourselves, together with the Office of the Auditor General, ensures that disaster goes with real-time auditing. We will hand over the report to the AG, which is coupled with the approved budget. They will go and verify if that road is not there truly, and if the road, once it has been built properly. Was the identification process of the appointment according to the PFMA or MFMA, depending on who's doing that road, between a provincial and a national or a municipal level. So it goes hand in hand with the accountability hand. They say hindsight is the best teacher, right? We've learned from COVID, so disaster is coupled with real-time auditing to make sure that I give you sense of comfort that the 5 billion I've spoken about currently will also be audited as and when it gets to be required, not at the end, real-time, to ensure that we minimize on the gaps of also ensuring that accountability is at the fore as well.
Final question to you, Minister, and crucially, search and rescue efforts. How many people are missing, and what are the efforts being directed towards that? Also importantly, the relocation of people, or should we say evacuation of people. How much of that is also involved? How much of it are you going to do, and where do you place those people?
We are using minimal halls. I must really be thankful to the families and neighbors who have agreed to accommodate people. At first we accommodated at Ladysmith. We ran around 68 families who are currently left with about 4 families that can't move out of the hall, and Human Settlement has already sent contractors for temporary structures for those families, but mostly are accommodated by families or extended families or neighbors in some instances. We've evacuated over 450 families in the province, not only in the Ilembe, to move them from the areas. There's an area, for example, from here I'll be going there. It's a caravan park. It was mostly an informal settlement. It comes from the name, a lot of people are staying in caravans, and they named it Caravan Park. And you could imagine when it's raining, most of them got washed away. They were on the beneficiary list of the municipality who have allocated land, and Human Settlement will be coming to build houses from their disaster management funds that have already been allocated. So we're looking into around 890 in the area where I'm at, fully damaged and partially damaged, that Human Settlement is working on in terms of rebuilding or renovation or rehabilitating of structures that still need that type of work to be done. So it's quite an extensive damage. And as I'm saying to you, the estimation, or rather the early warning, takes us right up to Sunday, Monday. So we're praying and hopeful that it wouldn't extend that much. Search and rescue teams, where Minister Cele has been of assistance and pulled all the sites of search and rescue teams. They call them their K9 teams, which are mostly in each and every district. We're currently having around 11 search and rescue teams. We're missing 6 people who have not been found, and we do not have an explanation. Remember, on a search and rescue, You go into an area which has been flooded or has had excessive rains, and the families register. From our register, out of miners in the Hlongwane family, where we found 3, the mother, father, and the son, in a capsized van that went under the water subsided, we were able to retrieve, and we are undergoing the necessary DNA, but we do believe the car belongs to the Hlongwane family, and the MEC is helping to ensure that that is minused from the 9 that we're having. We're currently missing 6, and the teams have not stopped. They are searching on a day-to-day basis, assisted by community members, and we are hopeful that much as we may not bring back life, we do hopeful that we will bring closure to the families on what happened to their beloved ones, and we are hopeful that communities will continue to heed the call. We are continuing to evacuate in the areas of Mnambiti, Amajuba, on the estimation of the early warning around the weekend. And communities are cooperating, which is a very different sign. We are also getting educated ourselves. We had difficulties in 2021, 2022. When we ask families to evacuate, there will still be a sentiment that I've stayed here years and years. My family, my father, my forebears left me this as the only thing that I have. But now when we come, we make notices. You find families packed, trying to save what is possible, and we evacuate them, put them in places of shelter for the process of rebuilding. So working together with communities, NGOs, Gift of the Givers, and everybody else who are submitting, Red Cross, all of us are jointly in making sure that we save lives, we retain their dignity. Traditional leaders, all of them are out here joining us in search and rescues, in availing land in areas where they are the custodian on behalf of the state. We are all out to make sure that we make the pain much, much better.